Thank you for listening to the Kyle and Tim podcast, where we have authentic conversations that help cultivate a better understanding of ourselves, our guests, and the world we live in. This podcast is about our guests, getting to know them, their backgrounds, experience, thoughts, and ideas. We really appreciate you listening. Before we introduce our next guest, we'd like to introduce you to a few sponsors that help make this podcast possible. Today's podcast is brought to you by Mountain Mule Transportation, located here in Bozeman, Montana. Mountain Mule is a private SUV and truck service, offering chauffeur services in all of southwest Montana. Whether it's your next skiing, hunting, or fishing trip, early morning or late night trips to and from Bozeman Airport, as well as weddings and private parties. No matter the occasion, Mountain Mule will get you there safely and on time. To learn more, visit mountain-mule.com and book today.
I'm ready to go.
I'm ready to go.
All right.
Do it.
Breah,
Kyle,
welcome to the show.
thank you.
Can you give us your entire life story back when you were a wee little girl?
From a toddler, from when I was really little.
Oh, where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Okay.
What's your story? Make sure it's a good one.
What's your earliest memory?
Earliest memory.
Earliest memory of being alive.
Right now.
Well, that's where it starts.
Let's see. My earliest memory of being alive. I remember when I was young, I was born in Southern California, but then quickly my parents moved up to Mount Shasta and lived in this tiny town at the base of the mountain. And I had a blanket that I really liked, and it had a satin edge that when I would go to bed at night, I would suck on my 2 middle fingers and I would rotate the blanket around my hand on repeat. And the house we lived in had a basement with a staircase that had a handrail that ended halfway through. And so when I was young, like 2, 3, you're just learning to walk, like staircases are tricky, and the laundry was down there. So my blanket was being washed, and my mom told me to not go get it when it was in the dryer because I would eat shit down the stairwell.
Mm-hmm.
And my earliest memory is disobeying and walking down the staircase and falling and smacking my head on the metal cement stair. And I have a scar on my eye, slicing my eye, and then getting pinned down at the hospital on a board trying to get stitches in my face. That's my earliest memory.
All right.
And it's probably trauma-based.
There you go. Yeah.
That was back when kids were real kids and you didn't put a gate up in a doorway.
Right.
You just told them not to do something. Hope they listened.
Yeah, and they proceeded.
Listen.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely didn't go down there anymore. Yeah, my parents tell a story about this time as well. When I came back from the hospital, they had given me the medication to like knock me out while they gave me stitches. And I slept for like 3 days straight. And my parents read aloud Swiss Family Robinson.
They what?
They read aloud the book Swiss Family Robinson.
Okay.
While I was just zonked out. So they read for basically 3 days with me in bed.
Why did they read for 3 days?
Just because they were freaked out that like their daughter was sleeping, like just like knocked out.
Okay.
And they just chose to read and hang out with me. And
were they concerned about you waking up?
I think
Or
they were
not waking
yeah,
up?
I think
Yeah,
more
not
so
waking
like
That's
like
right, yeah, not waking up.
yeah, not waking up. Yeah.
So they weren't reading this book out loud. That was just how long they sat there. Enough.
They
time
read
to
it out
read.
loud to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How many
Mhm.
pages is this book?
I have
This
no idea.
This isn't a child's book.
It's not really a child's book. Have you guys seen the movie Swiss Family Robinson?
Yeah, it's been a really long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an old school movie.
Yeah.
I don't remember it really at all, but I have watched the movie since. It's an adventure story.
Interesting. So I guess okay, let's dive in here. Like I'm a little confused about the reading thing for so long.
Yeah.
What was the purpose behind that?
They like to read books aloud together.
Okay.
They do that still. So they'll pick a random book, a classic, anything really, and they'll sit. And I mean, it's not all the time. It's just sometimes they sit and read aloud together and they take turns reading. And it's just how they enjoy being together in some ways.
Cool.
And I think at this moment in time, my mom, she was 24. My dad was 25. They're pretty young parents. And I think they're like, holy fuck, like our daughter just like took a huge digger and is now just chilling in bed with us. I think they were freaked. Yeah, they were just freaked.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know why they do that. I mean, Will and I have done that.
It's pretty cute if you're reading a book to each other.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cute relationship thing to do.
Yeah, it's also hard. Have you guys ever read aloud to a significant other or a person?
No, that's like my biggest fear.
It's hard.
Fortunately, I have.
You have? Yes. You like it?
Yeah, it's when I'm not reading. Like, sweet.
I like it when I'm not reading.
Story time.
Listen to this book.
Yeah.
Close my eyes for a few minutes.
Yeah, the reading part's a little bit nerve-wracking. Pronouncing words right. That's hard for me sometimes.
That's funny.
Anyway, that's funny. Okay, got it. Okay, so where were you born?
Fontana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fontucky is what they like to call it.
Fontucky. Yeah.
Fontana. Okay, so you're born in Fontana.
Born in Fontana.
Okay.
And my parents lived down there and were teachers for not very long. And then when I was 4 months old or so, 3 months, they moved up to Mount Shasta, which is in Northern California, like almost to Oregon. That's where I spent basically all my childhood, and my parents still live in Northern California. So they were there for 4 years and then moved down to Chico. And so so Kyle and I went to Chico State together, but yeah, Wildcats.
Sounds like a Bobcats game.
Yeah, it's a Bobcats game, but crazier.
Yeah.
So then we moved down to Chico and were there for about 8 years. And then Redding is an hour north, and went up to Redding for the remainder of my childhood, and my parents are still in Redding. So kind of just bounced around the North State because...
How far is like Mount Shasta from Redding, technically?
Like 50 minutes.
50?
Yeah, 5.
Yeah, so Mount Shasta is actually it's further north.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys lived up there when you were really young.
Really young,
okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when my parents were just getting started, and my dad, I think, got his first like significant teaching job at the high school.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
At Mount Shasta High.
At Mount Shasta High, yeah.
Got it.
And coached tennis and women's volleyball when he was...
Did he teach in Chico too?
Yeah, he taught in Chico. So we moved down to Chico, and he was a teacher in Oroville for a while. And then he was a principal up in Ponderosa, which is like a 20-minute drive up the skyline, I think, for 15 years. No. Yeah, quite a while. That doesn't make sense.
So you lived
Actually,
in Chico,
8
and
years.
he taught in Ponderosa.
Taught in Ponderosa as a principal. So he moved up and was a principal up there. That was his first job as a administrator. And my mom was a counselor down in Chico. And so he would commute. It's like a 25-minute drive.
Was it in Paradise?
It was in Paradise, which is...
So he was a principal in Paradise.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I bet he knows a lot of people that got affected.
Yeah. So everybody, basically.
The whole city.
Yeah. A lot of our friends and family lost their homes, lost significant others.
Yeah, so that was 2018.
Yeah.
Is there fires?
Yeah, it was the name of the fire escapes. Campfire.
Yep, campfire.
The campfire. A town of 30,000 people gone.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And it happened like super fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was wild. It was, at the time, it was like the biggest fire in the whole country. On record, or one of them. Yeah, I shouldn't say that. It was a huge fire. I don't know. I shouldn't say the size, but it was. It was the deadliest fire, I think, in U.S. history.
I mean, I imagine it was like the funnel to try to get people out. You just couldn't get people out in time, and they were getting stuck in. Oh yeah, it was awful.
Like one-way roads and like
how far is this town? Is this like central, northern?
It's about an hour and a half north of Sacramento.
Okay.
Which is Sacramento. People think that Sacramento's like way north. It's not. Sacramento's like in the middle of the state.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is like true Northern California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I interrupted you about that. Okay, so mom and dad were counselors and teachers kind of all over like Northern California.
Yep, all over Northern California. Both ended their careers kind of in that same situation.
Okay.
As teacher or as a administrator and a counselor.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you guys knew each other before?
No.
No, I mean before you lived here.
No.
Mm-mm.
You guys went to
the same college. I just graduated earlier.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. So we didn't know each other in college.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's go back. Let's go all the way. Let's go back. So you moved to Shasta. How long are you in Shasta for?
About 4 years, 3.5 years. Yeah, until I believe my mom was pregnant with my little brother, and then we moved down to Chico.
Okay.
Because Mount Shasta's a really tiny, sleepy little town. Not a lot going on. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful, but not a lot going on. Yeah. So they wanted to be closer to my family, my dad's parents and my mom's parents and aunts and uncles and all of that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. How long were you in Chico?
Chico moved there 4 years old, there till the 5th grade. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we kind of unexpectedly moved. We had put in a swimming pool, which was incredible, in the backyard this summer. And then for some reason, we moved. I actually don't know why.
Still to this day.
To this day, yeah. Curious about it, definitely.
Mom, Dad.
Yeah.
We're going to talk later.
I would love to know. Yeah, I'm sure I'll find out. And okay, to be fair, you could cut things out of this too.
Okay.
If you wanted to.
Yeah. If you want us to, we will. If you don't want us to, we won't. I don't want to cut anything out, but you might.
Okay. I have an inclination of why, but it's not necessarily public.
Okay, so we can just keep it quiet.
Yeah, there was I think something with their relationship happened, and we got jacked out of there and moved up to Redding. But it was interesting because they put this amazing swimming pool in, and my brother and I, he's in 1st grade, I'm in 5th grade. I'm about to be big dog on campus because in Chico, 6th grade is middle school, and 5th grade is 6th grade is still in elementary school, and 7th and 8th grade in Chico were middle school. So I was stoked to go back to school, and so then I just remember it was only 3 weeks before school started, and we're moving to Redding, which is only an hour north. It's not the crazy move, but it was really shocking and honestly pretty stressful.
Maybe you don't even want to ask why you moved.
Dude.
Right before the holidays?
I won't be doing this anytime soon.
The uprooting demons.
I've thought about it. I've dreamt about it. Yeah. But we moved to Redding, and I was in 6th grade, so the lowest on the totem pole.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And you're upset about that. And you're in a whole new school.
Whole new school.
New people, new kids, new teachers.
Yep. Yeah. It was an interesting time. But
which a way smaller town too. So you went from a bigger town to a way smaller town.
Yep.
Because Chico's isn't Chico still one of the almost second largest city north of Sacramento?
Yeah, I would definitely think that. Yeah. Does my hat look weird?
No, it looks good. Okay. So then you what was it like growing up in Chico?
In Chico? Oh, it's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really fun. I remember, Kyle and I went to Chico State, and it was always crazy around the Chico celebrations. So St. Patrick's Day, Digger, or what was the old school days? Not Digger days. Pioneer days. I remember specifically driving through downtown Chico and seeing couches on fire and patios on fire. As a little girl. And and my parents are always don't look over there. People are partying. It's really scary. We can't go downtown. I remember Halloween also being kind of sketchy. You couldn't go in and around the college area.
It's funny that you say on holidays, Chico made a holiday out of every day. It's it's fucking Tuesday. Sick, bro.
Go to O'Reilly's. Yeah. But it was really fun. We did a ton of camping. That was my main childhood activity. I feel is camping on Eagle Lake and boating. My parents always had some sort of ski boat. So spending a lot of time tubing.
You guys were Lake Almanor or something?
Lake Almanor, Oroville Lake, Black Butte. And then we would sometimes drive up to Mount Shasta or Shasta Lake and do Shasta and Whiskey Town.
Yeah.
But a lot of time behind the boat, swimming, playing. Awesome. Yeah.
So many lakes right there, actually. Yeah, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Would you compare Chico to Bozeman, size-wise?
I think
Chico's
Chico's
a little
bigger.
bigger,
Yeah,
I
Chico's
just looked it
bigger.
up. It says 101,000
Yeah.
population.
So like,
101.
yeah. So it was like 90 when we went to college. There was
Yeah.
about 90,000 when we went to college there. Yeah, it's got like a Chico, it's got a Bozeman feel to it.
It definitely does. Yeah, a nice little downtown. The college is like right in the central area. The frat sorority houses remind me a little bit of Chico. Yeah. And like the influx of students.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the summertime, it's kind of a slower pace. And then once school's in, it's like super busy and a lot of activities. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Chico's a lot slower in the summer than Bozeman is.
Yes, because
there's
like
not like
Bozeman has that like tourist appeal in the summer too. So
we don't have that in Chico, so it's like it's pretty quiet.
Yeah.
Which is actually really nice.
Super nice. Fun to be there in college during the summer too, and just like hang out with your friends and super mellow vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys go to the parks a lot?
Yes. Oh yeah. 1 mile is this really neat swimming or park with a huge swimming hole. I don't know if it's dammed up, but it's kind of blocked, and it's like an Olympic-sized swimming pool, but just with river water.
It's big.
It's bigger than that.
It's way bigger.
Yeah, like it's huge. But it's just river water, and so you go there, and it's a free for the community. Super fun. And then what's Bidwell, Upper Bidwell?
Yeah.
Go there a lot. And then what was the big hole? The swimming hole up there?
Well, there was a bunch of them, like Salmon Hole, Bear Hole,
Brown
Hole.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
classic name.
Yeah. Love
Brown,
it. Super creative.
Brown Hole. Dude, Brown Hole was
Only
like
for the college students.
only, for you got to be pretty adventurous to go to the Brown Hole.
I have never been to the Brown Hole.
Oh, I've been there. It's worth it.
It's worth it.
All right, we're done.
Okay.
Okay, so you moved to Reading in 6th grade.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What was it like growing up in Reading or being there? How long were you there?
6th grade until I was 21.
Oh,
Which
wow.
is kind of crazy. Yeah. So, kind of neat. My aunts and uncles live there. So my mom's aunt or my mom's brother, and his wife are there with their kids, and my dad's brother with his kids are there. Plus 2 sets of my grandparents. My dad's grandparents divorced, so both of those sets live there with their step grandma and step grandpa. And then when we first moved there, my mom's parents were like 2 hours away. So it was like this really fun family dynamic. Like we would spend at least once or 2 nights a week together, having dinners. Yeah, going out to the lake. My grandpa would always like have us over for like and we went to church a lot of church. So a lot lot of family
Christian
time.
church.
Yeah. Christian church. Yes.
Well, you tell me. That was a question, I guess.
Christian church. I thought you were teasing. Yeah, a lot of church. So
Not Catholic, just like
like
run of the mill Christian.
Yes, non-denominational, run-of-the-mill Christian. Yeah, I spent a lot of time at church. Are you guys church? Did you guys go to church as kiddos?
I went to church as a kid, and people will ask me that because it was a Christian church. They'll be like, "What kind?" I'll be like, "I don't know how many kinds are there."
There's quite a few.
There's like 50.
Yeah,
I know it was because I've now since asked. It was non-denominational as
Yep.
well.
Yep. Yeah, so like Awanas. Did you guys participate in Awanas?
Nope.
No.
I don't know
What's
what that
that?
is.
Awanas is like, I think it was Thursday night, and it was where you go and basically like memorize Bible verses and then play sports. And so I was always good at the sports part, but I was always like, fuck these Bible verses. I just want to play freaking tag.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. And then my grandma would take us to church on Sunday, and it was like church marathon. We would go in the morning, and then she'd be like, we have to sing in the choir, so you're going to stick around for another service, and then we're going to go to service. And so it was like 5 hours of just in church. A lot of church. Yeah. But growing up in Reading was really nice. It's a really like recreational, dense area. There's a ton of rivers, a ton of lakes. Spent a lot of my childhood like hiking, biking. Not until I was older did I get into boating, but there is a ton of boating around Reading as well. So beautiful spot, super hot. Like
in summer,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Like 110 degrees hot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which I actually kind of like, but
yeah, if you're near water, it's awesome.
Yeah, if you're near water.
Okay. What's your family like? What family makeup?
What do you have? You have one brother, multiple siblings?
I have one brother. Yeah, younger brother. He's 3.5 years younger than I am. Yep. He and his wife live in San Luis Obispo. And then just my mom and dad. So yeah, just 4 of us.
What was it like growing up with your brother? Like, do you guys get along? Do you guys?
Oh my gosh.
You guys play together?
Yes. There was like, Gabe and I had like a roller coaster relationship when we were kids. When we were really young, he was like my little sidekick. You know, he was born and he's one of those kids that's just incredibly observant and then also can mimic and just do, like, if you imagine Jim Carrey, I'm not exaggerating, that is my brother. How he can move his body, move his face, his expressions, his quick wit. It's like,
he's like Jim Carrey's little brother.
He's like Jim Carrey's little brother. And so having that as a little brother was fucking awesome because he was like my little actor. I could just like do this, do that. There's so many videos of us like just playing and him doing whatever I want him to do and being hilarious. Yeah. So childhood was like young childhood in Chico, best friends. Like I taught him how to ride a bike, like the classic stuff. And then when we moved to Redding, I think in Gabe's like, let's see, I was probably in high school as a junior or senior, Gabe's middle school years. He and I definitely like butted heads quite a bit. But I think it was because, you know, looking back, I kind of was stepping away from like the church situation and becoming more, I don't know, adventurous or exploring just more.
The church situation. We'll be back. We'll be right back after these messages. We're going to get into the church situation.
Yeah, the church situation. Yes.
Okay.
So, and I think like one of the stories I always like to highlight is and this was when I was out of high school. I was a freshman at the junior college playing soccer, and I was a virgin. I hadn't had sex, and Gabe, I think, kind of put the dots together after I did lose my virginity to my boyfriend. That had happened. Okay. And there's
he picked up on it.
Yeah, he picked up on it. And there was this, and I actually don't know how he did, but like I said, he's fucking observant. But then there's this iconic fight we had. It was a bad one, but it was after he discovered this about me, and I was in charge of taking him to basketball practice. So I had to load him up in my car and most likely with like a bunch of other boys and drive these kids out to school because our high school is like 15 minutes away. And there's this moment where...
And you're like 20 years old.
Yeah, I'm like 20 years old. Gabe's 15, 16-ish. And I'm in the bathroom. We had a double sink. And I'm getting ready. I'm blow drying my hair, putting my makeup on, whatever. I'm going to go out after I drop Gabe off at practice. And Gabe comes in and he's like, I need to go to the bathroom. I'm like, use the other one. Use my parents. He's like, no, I need to go to the bathroom. I'm like, use the other bathroom. And he's bigger than me. He's 6'2", 3, whatever. And he's like, no, I'm going to use this bathroom. And so he just drops his pants, sits down on the toilet and takes a huge shit. Okay. Yeah.
What up, Gabe? I like Gabe.
And I'm just like, what has gone into you? Like, this is out of the blue. Like, we haven't been fighting until this moment. And all of a sudden, he's taking his shit in the bathroom. I'm trying to get ready. And I'm just like, fuck you, Gabe. Like, what is this? So then I leave because I'm like, I'm not going to be in here while you're doing this. This is absurd. And so then he finishes whatever. I come back in, get ready, and he's out playing basketball. And I'm like, I'm locking his ass out of the house. And so then I just lock him out of the house. And I'm like, I'm not taking
Why did you do that? Because you took a shit in your bathroom?
Just like, stupid, stupid fight. And then I'm like, I'm not taking you to fucking basketball either. Like, this is absurd. Like, we're in it. We're like, neither of us are backing down. And so then finally, like, I don't know what happens if like my mom intervenes or whatever, but I have to take him to basketball practice. And so we are still fighting. And he at one point, like, I don't know if he puts his elbow through a door, but there was a door situation. And then I get him loaded up in the car and we're driving down the road and he starts crying.
Okay.
Just bawling. And I'm like, oh my God, I still have no idea what this fight's about. Like,
this shit still stinks.
yeah. And so we pull over and I kid you not, the boy that I lost my virginity to lived down this road.
Okay.
And so we're pulled over on the side of the road. And I'm like trying to figure out what the heck's going on with my little brother because he's bawling. I'm crying because it's a freaking emotional fight. Shane, my boyfriend pulls up and he's like, "How are you guys doing?" And I'm like,
"No
like,
way.
Literally, we're not good. Like, you need to keep going." But yeah. So anyways, I think at this moment in our relationship, I think he realized, like, okay, my sister is actually still a good human being, even though she's not.
But you guys weren't talking about it.
Yeah, no, and I don't actually think we've ever like really talked about it.
Still till this day.
Yeah, that's another like thread I think is like we kind of know what happened, but there's no like real chit chat about it.
Okay.
But I remember making up and dropping him off, and it was fine. But I think at that point, like, I think he knew like I was just different than what his beliefs are.
Okay.
But yeah, it was quite the afternoon at the porterhouse.
Okay, got it. But you guys never, to this day, you've never talked about it.
We have talked about the fight, but I don't think we've really talked about like what the fight was about.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like we joke about that fight a lot, like because it was a pretty like monumental, stupid fight. Yeah.
Does he or did he like uphold very strict Christian values?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Still to this day.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and he's kind of an enigma though because he's so brilliant, so silly. Like his humor is super dark, but he believes in God, and him and his wife do. It's just it's complicated. Like you wouldn't necessarily think that when you first meet him, but they have like a pretty strong faith, the two of them. Yeah.
What does he do?
He is a nurse practitioner in a dermatology office in San Luis Obispo.
Cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's freaking awesome. Like definitely one of my best friends, and I trust him. But we're very different in a lot of ways. Yeah, very different.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So,
that explains the fight to an extent.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you got along with Gabe, and you kind of like had a roller coaster of like, I mean, I was over your whole life.
Yeah. But in general, like,
get along really good.
Got along really well, and still get along really well, and yeah, definitely.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
What are your parents like as humans?
Oh my gosh, well, you've met them.
I know, but you gotta explain.
I'll explain a little bit more. As humans, I would say.
What are they like really, as non-humans?
Oh my God, what if they were non-humans? They are wonderful. They are so kind, so silly, insanely generous. My mom can be super sarcastic. She can have more of a shorter, she used to have more of like a shorter fuse, but now she's just like very, I would say, really rolls with the punches and doesn't let like her emotions rise like they used to, which has been really cool to watch her. And same with my dad. My dad's very playful, very silly, very easy to be tearful in situations, likes to express himself in like written form. So he writes a lot of letters.
Easy to be tearful. What do you mean by that? Emotional?
Emotional. Yeah. Like,
what's mom's name? What's dad's name?
That's such an interesting way to say emotional.
I don't know why I said it that way.
That's a good description.
Yeah. Dale and Lisa.
And Lisa. Okay.
And they met literally, my mom was like in first grade. My dad was in third grade. They have a video of them at my grandparents' table and my mom hitting my dad saying, "Oh, Dale." You can like see it in the video. So they go way back.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But they're just, in general, like very fun, very athletic. They have more energy than I think Will and I have, or my brother and Alicia have. They're like so social. So social. Yeah. Very positive.
So your dad writes letters when he wants to express something.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He's always done that.
Always done that.
So like when you were a teenager, he'd like write you a letter because he wanted to tell you that you were fucking up.
Yeah. Maybe more aggressive, maybe more like in your face as a teenager.
Okay.
The written form is now more what he would do.
Okay.
Yeah. He did drastic tactics as a teenager.
Got it.
Yeah, but like if he wants to convey something now, he's going to write you a letter, and he does that quite often. And it's sometimes just like, what is he doing today? And how did his week look? And what did my mom and him get up to? It's like a lot of like, it's almost like journaling to you.
That's cool.
Yeah, which is kind of neat.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Is it always a handwritten letter?
Always handwritten. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he's got also a really neat journal of our childhood, of all the times we went camping and exploring and on trips, of documenting like all the silly things that have happened or what we were doing, when we were doing it. So it's been really fun in recent years to like look back on those times and like remember certain trips and remember silly
You're
moments.
looking in his journal.
Yeah, he'll share it. He'll like pick it up and he'll read something out of it. So he'll like flip to a memory or flip to a vacation, and he'll pick like a couple of different excerpts and read aloud.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. Do you know how many journals he has?
Quite a few. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I actually don't know. I don't know how many, because I've only seen I've had like 4 journals. It's filled is a lot of journals.
He's like, here's 1998.
Yep. He's pretty good at documenting. Yeah.
Interesting.
Which is really nice and also fun. Just like it's such a time stamp of like what that was like for us as kids and what we were doing, what we were wearing, what we ate. It's very fun to look back.
That's cool to have.
Mm-hmm.
I just listened to someone, I think it was today on a podcast, and he said he's written over 80 journals.
Oh my gosh.
Because he wrote a book, and he said it was kind of easy to write the book.
Who is this?
He's some actor. I can look up his name if you want.
Okay.
I just think
was it Matthew McConaughey?
No.
Okay.
Have you read his book?
Yeah, I like his book.
It was good. It was interesting.
It's so good. Yeah, very interesting.
Great dreams he has.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea. That, like your dad did that. Like I wonder how it's organized, because if I were to look at my notebooks,
Mm-hmm.
You'd be in jail. I didn't know I was supposed to look at them.
It's just like
Confessionals
just
of
like
Kyle Conrad.
because there's like important things in there that like would make sense. Like
Mhm.
okay, so there's like 2 pages of like I wrote that all in one day and there's a date on it, right? So okay,
Mhm.
that like somebody could look back at that. But then the next page is like go to the grocery store and like buy coffee. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like it's like a list of like stuff I want to do that day or that week.
Yeah.
Or it's like just like random notes from work. So it's like my like journal is like all mashed up
Mm-hmm.
of like it's like journaling and to-do lists and just like general
Like
I don't know, stuff you write down, I guess.
Yeah, what's
So-
happening in your life?
So it would be
Interesting.
it'd be quite a mess. I don't think anybody could follow it, you know. So I wonder how Dale organizes it.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
And I don't know
interesting.
if it's only. Well, I know he journals in general. A lot of it used to be like maybe read the Bible, do a little journal entry,
Okay.
more of like that type of thing. I think the habit stuck with just life now. Yeah, I don't know how I should ask him.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Was that what did Foster say? I think this gentleman we talked to a while ago, he was saying that like the 2 most important things he does every day, he said one was therapy and I think the other one was writing
Mhm.
every
Oh
day,
yeah.
Yeah.
which essentially can be journaling. I think it was a little bit looser than just journaling, but
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his morning pages, I don't know, maybe it was 2 years ago or so, he started, first thing you do, like get out of bed, like before you make a cup of coffee,
Oh my gosh.
like the very first thing is, and I imagine he's like adapted this a little bit, but this is how it started it was like, just write. And
Interesting.
like, they don't have to be, even connected thoughts, just like whatever comes out of your head, just write it down. So like,
Interesting.
you know, could literally anything. And so then he's like, yeah, that would clear my head.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, it's the clearest I've been in my mind in my whole life.
Wow.
Yeah. It's interesting.
That's what this same guy was talking about, because they were asking him if he would write everything longhand, and he's like, no. He's like, some people get so obsessed with that. He's like, I don't think it matters how you write, as long as you're, getting out and sorting through your thoughts. Because I know Foster specifically does longhand, but he's in his 60s, and that's, the way he's been writing most of his life. So
sure,
makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of people doing like voice memos or like audio recording.
Oh, I have a lot of those, because I wouldn't want to write, so I have like over 100. I'll listen back to them. It's trippy.
I like
just to hear what was going through my head and what I was thinking at the time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, good way to process.
Yeah.
And reflect. Yeah.
Yeah, you have some from a while back, and they're like, they're kind of they're crazy to think about.
It's just funny to listen to where your head was, where your thought process was, and then hear the tone in your voice.
Yeah. And to be where you are today. Yeah, kind of wild.
Now I got a bunch of podcasts recorded. All right, where were we? How did we get on this?
Okay, so we were talking about Dale's writing.
Oh yeah, Dale's writing. Dale and Lisa. Yes. When they were young.
Yep.
Yeah. They were high school sweethearts.
What is the? We'll start with Dale.
Big D.
What big D? Let's start with Dale. So,
yeah.
What's the most important thing that your dad has taught you?
Well, it's an interesting lesson, because I think that let me tell you the lesson first, and then I'll explain why it's interesting. But I think that when I was young, when I was in middle school, I was on the basketball team, and he's a big sports guy, and found, being on a team incredibly important for tons of lessons that you can learn with how to work with others and just how to stick through with something. But so I was on this basketball team, and I was awful. I never played. Not a minute, really.
Like you rode the bench?
Hard. Yeah. And I also loved horseback riding. I didn't have a horse. I've never had a horse, but I loved it. That was like what I wanted to do mostly in life, was to like be a really good horseback rider. I don't even know what I wanted to do with it, but I wanted to ride horses. And there was this Christmas event that I really wanted to go to, but there was a basketball tournament. And the Christmas event was at the barn I rode at. And I knew I would never play. I would never. You
literally were not going to play.
Literally not going to play. The coach was awful. It was just and we were like in 6th, 7th grade. And I think that at that age, everyone should be playing, because you're so young and you're still developing. That's my opinion. And my dad taught me during this lesson that if you commit to something, you follow through, and if you finish the job out and you stick around. So I think in general, that's the lesson that I think of when I think of my childhood and my dad, and something I want to take is just when your word really means something and to follow through. But on the flip side, I think there's also a lesson that you need to learn how to when you walk away, or when, something actually isn't worth it, for your mental health or emotional health. Yeah. So I think it's double-edged sword. There's a good part of that lesson. And then also I think that maybe in another circumstance, I could have done something a little bit different and still had learned that lesson.
Sure.
Yeah, and I mean,
find a sweet spot.
Yeah, find a sweet spot for that, because it was pretty firm back then. But I mean, that's not necessarily the best lesson that I could say about my dad.
It's
but
a lesson.
Yeah, it's a lesson.
It's a good one.
That just sticks out to me, of him being pretty adamant about, following through.
This guy
can't do that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think another lesson that my dad taught me, is just to give people many chances, multiple chances, and to show a lot of grace. And he's done that in his life, multiple, with many people. And I think I I learned that from him pretty well. I don't really know, actually. I have a complicated relationship with my dad.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And your mom?
Lesson from my mom?
Yep.
I think she's incredibly steady. So in moments of turmoil, or if things have gone awry, she's just consistent. She's going to be there. She's going to help you. She's going to ride it out. And then when everyone is okay and everything is solved, she'll like let down. And I think I admire that in her, because I don't think I have that in those moments of like stress and panic and sadness. She can just be a really good constant for everybody around her. Yeah. And like, I think I mentioned before, but like, she just really can roll with the punches and kind of just move through life in a way that is just very, yeah. It just seems easy for her. Yeah. To navigate, which sometimes I find it hard to navigate. And yeah, she's good at it.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you admire that about her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I admire that about her. I think it's not a lesson, but I admire that about
That's
her.
all right.
Yeah.
Have you or your brother taken up journaling to the extent that you're...
I've journaled a little bit when I was traveling. And when I do like retreats or go away on trips, sometimes I journal, but not that much. I find my journaling a lot like Kyle's, where it's sporadic notes, lists, thoughts. And then I get really caught up in like, how should I do this journaling right? Like, what should this actually look like?
I don't think there's a right way to
Yeah,
do
there's not a right way. Yeah. But I like I love journaling on trips, which is like my dad. I love looking back, like on Will and I's travels. Like I can look back and I've got a couple journals filled of just what we did, what we ate, who we saw, where we were, recommendations for if we go next time. I love that. I love that part of it.
Cool.
Yeah.
It would be a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like a good idea to do this every day, though, because, life just goes by so fast. Then you look back and you're like, what the hell have I done in the last 3 months?
Yeah.
And if you are reading it and paying attention to it, you might be a little more aware of what you're doing. And
pick up some habits.
Yeah.
See what you want to shift. Mm-hmm. What you can cut out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was high school like? Other than that, do you play a lot of sports, ride horses?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I played soccer all 4 years, and I was on the swim team, which was great. I loved soccer. It was my best sport, and I was all on a club team too. So, yeah, Kyle and I have a love of that for sure. And I rode horses. I always wanted to do I always forget, like steeplechasing, like the intense. I mean, do you guys know what steeplechasing is? It's like horse racing with obstacles.
Oh, okay. That is cool.
Yeah. So like moats or jumps or really steep inclines or declines. I always really, really wanted to do that. And I feel like the adrenaline I got from horseback riding, I just loved, which I've kind of transferred that to other things in life now. But yeah, I played sports in high school and I rode horses, which was good until I was about a junior. And then I stopped the horse thing.
So you were riding English?
I was riding English.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I definitely loved it. I have a lot of good memories with some girls there. Yeah, hanging out in the fields, playing. I would take the bus to my horseback riding and then walk a mile and a half to my lesson on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But yeah, then there was this moment in high school where it was okay, you're really good at soccer. We can't afford horses. They're ridiculously expensive. So the option was to just put more energy into playing soccer. And yeah, so in senior year, I didn't ride, and I haven't really ridden that much since then. But I played soccer in high school, and then I played soccer in college, which was really good. Yeah, high school was fun though. I had a really good group of friends. I feel like I'm an extrovert in a lot of ways. I always want a lot of people around, and so I always had 15 friends over on a Friday night, and my parents would always be like, this is all you're inviting? And then 5 more would show up, and we were so innocent. We weren't partying. We were playing knockout in the yard and
basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I think if I got in trouble in high school, it was because I would tell my parents, oh, only a few folks are coming over. And then like a herd of high school students would come over. And I had a really hard time with the boundary of like not sharing. So they would just raid my parents' fridge. And my mom would be like, you cannot do this. This is ridiculous. Like, we want our house to be open, but like,
this is too much.
You cannot take it. Yeah, I was just like taking advantage of my parents' generosity, and then I was being generous to my friends, but it wasn't my money. And it wasn't, so little lessons learned along the way. Yeah.
That's how you guys know each other's soccer.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What kind of, what were you like as a high school soccer player?
As a high school soccer player? Like what do you mean?
Like, how would you describe your personality on the team?
I was captain my sophomore, junior, and senior year. So
how would your teammates describe you, captain?
How would they describe me? Probably, I don't know. I never had any issues really. I always felt like me and my friend Hannah, who is my friend since I was in 6th grade, were the captain for 3 years in a row. And I always felt like they would like die for us. Like they would just like do anything. We had a really big bond, and I think that they would describe me as like, I wouldn't do anything. I would not ask them to do anything if I didn't do it, or if I wasn't doing it actively. I remember being a stickler about cheating. Like if you were running laps or doing suicide or
cutting corners.
I remember being like pretty intense about that. Like playful, very vocal.
You were super competitive?
Not like, competitive, appropriately competitive.
Did you ever yell at the other girls on the team for like not working hard enough, or like?
A couple girls. Yeah. There's a couple that come to mind. They're the younger girls and they would give up. So if they were on the outside mid and we would, they would lose the ball or lose a tackle and they would just like throw a little fit and not really work hard. Even if they wouldn't get to the person, they would just like give up, like stop running. And that really irritated me because these girls were good soccer players, but just didn't have that like extra little, like, I don't know if it was intensity or like love for their team to show that like I care. That really got me. That got me mad.
And then you played on the club team at Chico?
I played, I didn't start at Chico State, so my college career is pretty winding.
You went to Shasta Community College.
Yep, I went to Shasta for 2 years, played there.
Yep.
And then I went to this private school for about a year and played soccer.
Where at?
Simpson is in Reading.
Yeah, I was going to say, okay,
yeah. It's a private school there. And then I like dropped out of college, which I've talked to my dad about this before, but I was like in school at this Christian university and I just couldn't figure out who I was, what I wanted to be. And it took me a while. This isn't the moment that I like found my way, but I could no longer be at this school. I could no longer be at this Christian school with all these rules and all these expectations. And I stopped going to class. I played soccer for that fall and finished that semester, and then started school in the spring. And I really wanted to travel. I wanted to go abroad, and they wouldn't let me go abroad if I hadn't been like at the school for a full year. And I was just like, okay, well then like I'm done. And I was in a teaching program, so I was going to be a teacher. That was originally what my plan was in college. And I think at this point in my life, I was like pretty depressed and wasn't going to school, didn't tell my parents, They didn't actually never found out. I think I lied to them.
You're living at home still.
I'm living at home. My brother
That's freaking ballsy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going home every day and they're thinking you're going to school and you're not.
I'm not.
What were you doing?
I was depressed.
Like I'm saying, what were you doing all day long?
I was working. I worked. So I would like take more shifts. I worked at Starbucks, so I would do like a ton of shifts at Starbucks. I would pick up other things. Like it was busy.
Which was like normal because you were already working at Starbucks.
Yeah.
So you just took more.
Yeah, took more. And mind you, this is like at the end of the semester. It's not like the whole semester. But I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, this school is ridiculous. And so at that point, let's see what happened there. Yeah, I stopped going to school. And then I went on a road trip down to San Luis Obispo to Cuesta and went with some girlfriends and fell in love with the Central Coast. And there was a junior college down there. And so I decided that I was going to go to school down there and continue my prereqs and try to figure out what I wanted to do. Because I knew I needed to finish up my education mainly because that was what was expected. And I think it was a good thing in the long run that I have my degree. But I moved down to Cuesta.
You needed to get away.
Yeah, I needed to get the F away because I had been in Redding for 3 years after high school and was just, I felt like disappointing everybody. But a lot of it has to do with like no longer believing in God, and my whole family does. And so I think that was really hard to try to navigate and move away from. And I didn't do it properly until I was 26. Like really tell my parents like, this is not working for me. I mean, because it was like, I mentioned the letters that my dad wrote. He would send me a lot of letters about really wanting me to believe in God, go to church, find my way back. So I needed to get out of Redding.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So you're like combining that with like all the other things that happen to young adolescents, right? Of like forget that for a second, right? Not to say that it wasn't like a big part, but like at that age, you probably would have wanted to leave anyway.
Yeah,
right? Like
regardless.
If it had nothing to do with that.
Yep.
You're like, I don't want to live in my hometown. I don't want to live in my mom and dad's house. Like,
no.
Like that's the age when like you want to be independent.
Yep.
And want to go like try all kinds of new things.
Yeah.
And so on top of all that, you're questioning your faith at that time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot noodling around for sure. And on the outside, like I said, I was probably depressed and anxious, but like always pretty like
you're right.
Optimistic and I'm good. No one would think that. No one would think that I was struggling.
Yeah. They couldn't tell.
Yeah, they could not tell. Yeah. Pretty easy to fake it. But going down to Cuesta was awesome. I moved down there and I took ceramics, I took volleyball, and I took human sexuality and sign language. And I was just freaking loving it. And I was living in my apartment for the first time with 2 really good friends from Redding. One I had known for a long time, played soccer with. The other one, I had met briefly in high school, and she is now my dearest friend. So we met when we were 21. I'm 34 now, and she's been by my side ever since, which was really special to have that connection down there. Moved in, started working at this place called Creaky Tiki, which is this really fun bar. So I was working at Starbucks in the morning. I was going to class, and then I was working at a bar at night. And
sounds fun.
And like saving a bunch of money and just away from my family and just stoked. Yeah, totally stoked. And this bar closed at midnight. So then you could still go out and hang out afterward for 2 hours, which was amazing.
You're like 22, 23 this time?
I'm 21.
Okay.
I'm 21.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I started Simpson when I was 20, kind of dropped out when I was 21. When I was 20, and then I turned 21 and then moved to SLO. So I was, pretty young, but really stoked. Yeah, and I was also like, what the fuck did I do this before?
What a fun time.
Yeah. Oh my God. And there's only one full year that I was there, and I think it changed everything, really. Mm-hmm. It was an awesome year. Yeah. Like I still have like, I can bring back the smells.
That's so interesting. Your parents were probably like, it was probably so hard for them to let you go.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. My dad moved me down.
Well, and it's interesting, right? Because like you think parents we all do this, right? We do this. We literally do this with ourselves, right? Like we like hold ourselves back from like doing something, and we think we're like, you know, making a good decision or something, and then you like let yourself do it, or you don't, right?
Yeah.
And then you look back, you know, a couple of years later, you're like, why did I hold myself back, right? So your parents were like, we want to keep you home. I'm kind of inferring here.
Yeah,
like, want to keep you home, want to keep you going to Simpson.
Yep.
And you're like, I'm out of here, right? And so then look what happened. Like fast forward a year later, you're like flourishing.
Yeah, doing really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, if my parents were trying to keep me back, or I don't know what. I think back on that, and I'm like, why didn't I apply to college? What kept me? And a lot of it was my brother, because he was in high school, and we were super close. But I was making my own choices, and I don't think to be honest, I was never that good of a student. And so I think it was scary, and I don't think I knew what I wanted to do. And I think I was just like, okay, I'm just going to stay here and like, save a lot of money going to junior college.
Yeah.
Simpson wasn't that cheap, but
yeah.
But yeah, that's a different sound, huh?
Yeah, where did that come from?
I don't know.
I literally went like this, and I don't even know if it was something I did, but I just heard it pick up. It's in that one.
Which one?
That one.
Mine?
Yeah.
Why would that just happen?
I don't know.
So
Down in Cuesta.
down in Costa.
Yeah.
Okay, now you're done with Costa. Where do you go?
Okay, so in Cuesta, I met my college boyfriend, who I dated for about 5 years, 4 years. He was a little bit older than me. He was coming back to school after. So he played baseball at Cal Poly and then got drafted, and then got let go and had to finish his college career. So I met him down there through my friend Krista, who I was living with, and I was just like enthralled by this guy. And we were together for quite a while after Cuesta, but I got into Chico State. So I was like, I need to get my something together here, because I want to like finish school so I can like do something else, basically. So I applied to Chico State, got into Chico State, and moved up there that August. And moved in with
2010.
2011, 12, around there.
Okay.
Yeah, around there. I can't remember exactly what year it was. 11 or 12. Got to school, got into this teaching program that was supposed to be a fast track for like 18 months. And then I would have my degree, and then I could start working on my student teaching and get my credential. And at this, so I'm at Chico State. And then Matt went traveling to Germany. He played for Germany baseball for about 4 or 5 months. And then he came up to Chico, and we moved in together, which was another like huge deal to my parents, like moving in with someone that you're not married to. But we lived with a girl named Megan, and we were together for 2 years there, Megan and I. And then Matt moved to San Francisco. So I finished my degree. I changed it about midway through and went to school for food science and nutrition.
Okay.
Which was awesome. I loved that transition. And then, I was still trying to make it work with Matt and didn't really know what was going to happen. And he had moved to San Francisco and was working there full time. He was a sales rep for Johnson & Johnson, worked in spinal sales. And I got a job at Insight Global, which I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with at all.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's a huge college recruiting space. It's like for informational technology, and you basically get people jobs. But it's like, it was not like the place to work, but it was like very popular for people from Chico State, people who were very outgoing, to work at
What's
Global.
the job? What did you do?
So say our company is Chase Bank, and they have 18 jobs they need to fill. They've got a software developer, an engineer, I forget what all the names are, but like all these different tiers.
Yeah.
And basically Insight Global has their contract, and then we find those people. And so say I find a software developer for Chase Bank, and Chase says they can pay him $100. I tell the guy I can pay you $80.
Yeah.
And then I'm making $20 every hour he's working.
Yeah.
Which is like
that can be a ton of money.
So yeah, you can do really, really well, and people were crushing. There's a lot of cold calling. It's a lot of it was crazy. It was a crazy work environment of just like what people.
What was it like?
Okay, I always
throw Insight Global
under the bus.
Do it.
So there was like cocaine all the time in the bathroom. People were
at work.
At fucking work. To be honest, I've never done coke in my life, but there was a shit ton in the office. There was just money from all these different people. I always say, like, Wolf of Wall Street, like how crazy some of those scenes are. Like, tone it down a lot, but like,
that's what it was like.
It's kind of like that. Yeah. Like for our boss, John, what's his name? Oh my God. So for his birthday.
And there's a lot of Chico State kids.
Tons of Chico State kids. Arizona State. Like all the classic big schools.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Cocaine,
drinking.
And money and competitive environment.
So competitive. Like, oh my gosh, thinking back. And this was like a little bit of my nightmare sort of, but also very fun. So you had to do a start dance. So when you got your first employee hired by a company, you had to dance in front of the office at 7:30 in the morning at the opening meeting to some crazy ass song. Like they picked for you.
Yeah.
And you had to like.
What was yours?
I did like a group one, and I don't really remember because I was mortified. Like
you blacked out.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was. I was with like 3 other people, thank God. Because I kept getting out of mine. I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm gonna do this. Like this is like literally my nightmare. Like I can be an extrovert, but like that is at that moment in my life, I was not gonna do it. So like John Barker's birthday, we hired a woman to come in dressed in a gorilla suit to give him a lap dance. And the woman tried to make him eat a banana. And it was the most
at work
uncomfortable thing I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And John Barker is just like, no, absolutely not. No. And she's just like putting this unwrapped or peeled banana. Like, it was horrible. And then after this, we have like $2,000 of $1 bills that we just like spray over him. So yeah, it was just, and I was only there for probably 5 months because that was not my scene. I mean, I like to have a good time, but that was not.
That's interesting.
That was way too much for me. And just like
is Insight Global still around?
Yes, it's very different now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very different. And it was like this is gonna sound effed up, but it was like the most outgoing, funny, attractive people. Yeah. That's all they hired.
Yeah, got it.
Which is really shitty, but they crushed back then. Yeah, it's not like something I'm super proud of that I worked there, but
I mean, whatever, it's an experience.
It's such an experience. Yeah. And then I living in San Francisco, living with Matt at the time, decided I didn't want to do that, so I started working at the Bay Club, which is a huge athletic club in San Francisco. And I was like a director of membership, so I was like helping with retention and membership stuff. And I did that for about a year. But during that time, Matt and I broke up. And so rather than like going home to Redding, I stayed in the city and moved out to the Presidio, which is this beautiful part of San Francisco, right by Baker Beach.
So like you were thinking potentially about going home after you broke up?
Yes, because I was in a weird living situation where I was paying rent with Matt, and then also wanted, like, my parents had to help me financially because I couldn't pay like the $2,000 I owed Matt plus my other
earnings. Yeah.
So it's kind of this weird little time, but I didn't want to just leave San Francisco after our breakup.
Yeah, you wanted to stay.
I wanted to stay. I wanted to complete my time there. on my own schedule. And I was only there for probably another 8 months or so. But then I was like, okay, yeah, this isn't for me. I didn't have a car when I was with Matt, but then I got a car, so I felt like I could get out and go explore. But I just did not feel like myself. Like, yeah.
It's interesting. San Francisco's like, especially right after college, I would imagine like there's such a buzz there. And it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And it's constant. But also it's like, especially your first couple of years out of college, man, it's got to be such a hard place to live. Like, and talk about like not having any money.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, like you're literally broke, living paycheck to paycheck, and you're surrounded by bad habits.
100%.
And so I'm not saying that you can't find a balance, right? People do.
Yeah.
But like, I would think it would be really hard to find a good balance and find a healthy balance your first handful of years out of college because you have no money. You're susceptible to all those bad habits because you're like, this is fun.
You want to say yes to everything.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And everybody in San Francisco, at least how it used to be, I fucking hate saying this, but it's like prior to COVID, everybody went out every night. 100%. Like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Like you like after work, it was normal. It's normal. It's a city that like normally people go out and have 3 or 4 drinks all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's so fun. It's incredibly exhausting. You feel, my experience felt so exhausted. Felt like, what even matters? You know, like I'll never be enough for these people because there's always going to be someone a little bit better. A little bit, I don't know, like it's
a super hyper competitive place.
Super hyper competitive place. Yeah. And my interests necessarily weren't always city.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. I loved it. And when I was with Matt, like he had a different financial situation than I did. So we were going out to amazing dinners. We were going out to incredible drinks. We were doing all these fun things.
Yeah.
You know, he was paying for them, which was wonderful. But but like when our equations shifted and I was on my own, I was like, okay, I can't do this. Like my salary is enough for the basics and a little bit more.
Yeah.
His salary was like substantially different.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so you get worn out and you're like, yeah, it's unsustainable. For me, it was unsustainable.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. But yeah, I needed to come home and figure out myself.
Okay, so then you moved back to Reading?
Yeah, so yes. So I was with Matt. We had a really kind of shitty breakup. And then I was just like kind of angry. I was just sort of like, I can't believe this happened to me. This is so frustrating. So I dated somebody for a while that was really like toxic and it wasn't good. You know, it was similar, like going out all the time, partying, having fun, burning the candle at both ends, like barely holding it together.
Distracted.
Yeah, just like so distracted. I talk about that in therapy a lot. It was like I was just trying to survive and was just doing anything I could to like really not feel that much.
Go.
Yeah. So busy working, playing, partying, feeling every hour of every day. And I went back home and I was still kind of like seeing this person off and on. But it was messy. And my friend Krista, who I mentioned before, asked me, and this decision I made changed my entire trajectory of where I was going in life. She asked me to go on a road trip with her and some friends that I knew. And I was like, hell yeah. Like, I'm moving home. I have some money saved, enough for this trip at least. Yes. And it was a 3-week trip. We started in Sandpoint, Idaho. And it was a backpacking, hiking, exploring trip of like, not the Pacific Northwest, but Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and Canada. And I said yes to her. And she picked me up in Sandpoint, Idaho, and we went on this amazing backpacking trip in Banff. We did this loop called the 4 Lakes Loop. It's like a progressive hike. Did this amazing trek, and then came down into Glacier, and we had all like backcountry permits, so we could spend time out in the woods hiking these. I had never seen anything like it, and I hadn't done a ton of traveling. I'd gone to Europe once, gone to Mexico. Had never been to Wyoming, Montana.
Yeah.
Barely been to Idaho. Actually, I don't think I've been to Idaho. So we're doing all of these incredible, all these incredible things. Came down to Montana, and then went to Jackson. And in Jackson, met this person who was a river guide, and we had gone boating. And at this point, I was like, I am moving somewhere here.
Yeah, somewhere in the mountains.
Holy shit, this exists in the U.S. Like, these people, this experience, and I was just like scratching the surface. Like, I had no idea. But I remember meeting this person at the bar, having a wonderful little night, and then going back to our campsite, me, Krista, the girls, and Alex and Kyle. I think his name was Kyle.
Forgettable name.
Yes. Okay. And I met this guy named Orion, who I think you have met at Friendsgiving. And we had a wonderful little makeout session at the Cowboy Bar, and then went on our ways. And he was like, I'm going to Costa Rica to be a raft guide. And we finished out the trip. I come back home. I'm in Reading now. And I'm just sort of like, where do I go? What do I do? I've graduated from college. I've done the San Francisco thing. I've just discovered like that I adore the area I was just in. But I'm still kind of like in this shitty little situation with this guy. And I remember I woke up at like 5 a.m. on Thursday, and I drove to Walnut Creek, which is like a 3-hour drive.
Yeah.
I met him before he got in his truck for work, and I said, this is it. No more. I'm gone. And then I drove back home. And I like cut that tie and felt like this weight lift from me. Like, it was just like all the shit that had happened and all the things that had gone down in the last year and a half. I had like finally been like, I can be more than what I was and what I am. And then I came home and I bought a one-way ticket to Costa Rica, not to see Orion, mind you. It was just inspired by him. And he had mentioned that it was like a very safe, easy place to travel if you had never gone internationally.
Got it.
And I remember walking with my mom down the road at my parents' house and telling her like I bought a ticket to Costa Rica, and she was just kind of like, "What are you doing?" Like, and rightfully so. Like, I had my history of 18 to 25 was pretty wild, like up and down, left, right, no consistency. But I remember telling her like, "No, I'm doing this." And feeling very firm like about this decision. Like I'm gonna do this.
You weren't asking.
Yeah, I was not asking. I was like, I have enough saved that I can go and do this. And I found a program, room to board, that is you get free rent and you get breakfast and 50% off food, and you work 20 hours a week. And I was like, and a couple years before that, my parents had gifted me if I ever wanted to get my scuba certification, I could do it. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do this room to board situation, and I'm going to get scuba certified. I'm going to go down a month before my start date and just kind of like travel alone. And that was the best. That was amazing. I like left. I went down there. I had a friend actually come with me, Lizzie, who I don't know if you've met, but she lives here in town. And just traveled alone, went boating. Met Orion and went rafting down the Choro for one of his like training runs, and did a bunch of random things. Got my scuba certification, and then started at room to board on the same day that Will started at room to board, and that's where I met Will. Yeah, and that's. I mean, my life was already. I had read a book before all of this, like during this time. Called A Million Miles in 1,000 Years. And there's this moment in the book where this character is faced with like choices. Like, you can continue down this path. Like, it's not necessarily a bad path. Or you can like completely catapult yourself out and make yourself have better stories. And I remember thinking, like, I need better stories. Like, the stories I'm telling, the stories I'm writing, the pages I'm putting in my book. They aren't bad per se, but I'm not proud of them necessarily, and it's not who I want to be. And so I remember really like intentionally choosing into like going to Costa Rica and trying to figure out what, and I had wanted to travel for years and just had never done it for numerous reasons, but
What's the book
Yeah.
called?
A Million Miles in 1,000 Years.
Mm.
It's a Christian author. I always preface it that way. But his name's Don Miller, and his message in the book is beautiful. And I always say, like, if you don't believe in God or like aren't religious, just like put another name when they say God, and then you can read it and be more enjoyable. That's what I did when I read it. Yeah.
Do you think that book was what compelled you to drive the 3 hours and break things off with that guy?
Yeah, for sure. I remember I read it at our family camp, or the cabin that we go to at Trinity. I was reading it, and that chapter, that what I just said, like totally stuck out to me. And yeah, and I just was like, I'm so attached to this person, like in a very unhealthy way, from just how much I was numbing and distracting, and who he was. I was like really physically attracted to him, but it was pretty surface level. Yeah. And I just remember thinking, like, if I don't drive physically there and like look him in the eye, I would not have done it. Yeah. And I haven't seen him since that day. Mm-hmm. I have talked to him in the months after, but it was sort of like, this is no longer like, I cannot be with you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What was your state of mind when you were doing that? Were you shitting your pants? Were you like...
I was like thrilled, like getting in the car, driving. I was like, fucking, you're doing it now. Like, this is like
confidence.
Yeah, a lot of confidence. I was like, finally, like you have the courage. And I was really scared of being alone. I think that's been sort of a pattern in like my younger years of just like always seeking, always wanting, and finally feeling like you actually don't need that. And I broke up with him before my road trip, I believe. I can't remember the timing kind of gets messy. But it was all around that same time, like the road trip, and then picking up with him. Yeah. And we weren't even really together, it was just like, you can do whatever this shitty dynamic was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, then I met Will Ford.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think having better stories is like a theme for life.
Yeah.
Just like if you think about it that way, you're like, well, what do I want? And I'm at this crossroads in my life, or like you're at, it doesn't matter. It could be like a random Tuesday.
Yeah.
Or like, what would I want for this week? If I was going to have a story for this week or this month, like, what would it be?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
What's your your parents' faith with Christian? Are they still like full board? Are they still full board?
Yes and no. They still do some church things, go to church every once in a while. Definitely ask us to pray together before dinner. And believe in God, have a faith. They aren't as, I don't want to say pushy, but they don't push it on me anymore. This was all happening like that same fall. I had to talk to my dad about just like, I cannot have you continue to ask me to be a Christian. Like, it's not who I am, and I need you to be okay with that. And had a pretty serious chat with him about that. And it's the only time we ever talked about it. Yeah, but they're also very easygoing, and they're very, just they understand where I am coming from, and they understand where Will is coming from, and they respect it more than they used to. It was more like, and I don't think he's as fearful. I think it came from a place of fear, like the Christian faith. Like, if I don't believe in God, I'm not going to heaven, so I won't be in this safe, beautiful place. Is, I think, a lot of his fear when he would encourage me to.
Yeah, it can be like a scarcity or like a fear mindset, the whole thing.
The whole thing, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you would meet them, and you wouldn't really think that they have a strong faith. they're really good people.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
I can't remember. Did he go to church when he was raised, or?
He went to I think Catholic church for a little while, but yeah, similar, not as intense. And I think quickly in high school they discovered like him and Emily didn't want to go, and I think his mom likes it with the community, which I understand. It can be a good place to meet people and connect. Yeah, it just popped in my head. I feel like when I think about my life and my childhood, I always like gravitate towards like this Christianity piece that like I'm no longer like I have to like tell the people that I don't believe or that I don't know.
It's interesting because like I would imagine that like from my perspective, like 99% of you isn't different.
Is indifferent?
No, it isn't different.
Oh, is
right?
not
So like
different.
you're the same
Yes.
person you were.
Yeah.
And so it's like not like it's actually not a thing, right? It's like and so it's interesting that you say that.
Yeah.
Because like, I feel like you share, most of the same values.
Yeah.
Right. It's like almost like the details are different, but like the overall and like the big chunks of it are the same, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's like it's not like all of a sudden you became a different person. Yeah. It's like no, I don't agree strictly to these things, but I do agree to them generally. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Well, in my opinion, and of being raised going to church, there's a lot of good values and a lot of good things that can be taken from it.
I agree.
I mean, people kind of say, "Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater." Like, and there's a handful of just weird, dogmatic, shitty things. So, I think it can be very well intentioned, and then it can just be kind of fraught with all kinds of bullshit. So. Yeah. But that's I
guess for you though, it was like a big deal to stand up for yourself, stand up for what you thought, and so like that's like a important part of your story. Yeah,
I think that that's more of that's it exactly.
It's important to you because it was such a big deal to set a boundary. Yeah, exactly. Which I hadn't done and still am learning how to do. Yeah. Yeah. Because you didn't think you could. Yeah, I didn't think I could. You thought that like you would be ostracized in a sense, like an outcast if you were to disagree. Yeah. And I don't know if I don't think I was ever fearful of like not being a part of the family or being, none of that. It was just sort of like really fearful of like saying that I really disagree and this isn't my life, my story, and I don't want to feel any more guilt for not doing what. Right. Yeah, I'm done with the feeling guilty piece. And I still struggle with like, am I a good person? If I'm not a Christian, if I don't believe, yeah. Am I a piece of shit? Yeah, totally though. Yeah, and I think it's just a lot of like things that were instilled in you about being a good person.
There's like a whole identity built around it.
Yeah, there's a whole identity.
When it's your whole life, your upbringing, it's your immersion. It's like seared into part of your personality. Yeah. Yeah,
those kinds of things are like they're all over the place.
Yeah.
Right, they're not just with like religion. It's like
yes, totally.
You're not a good employee if you don't do this, 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 and this. Mm-hmm. And you're like, wait, I'm watching the CEO do cocaine off a hooker in the bathroom. Yeah. Like, wait, what?
This is nasty.
Actually, the CEO's having sex with the HR lady right now. Like, I'm not allowed to hit on this hot girl that works with me. What? Yeah. Like, I'm a bad person.
Yes. There's all these blurred lines.
Yeah. So it's like there's all kinds of things where you get like messages. Yeah. And sometimes they're not even spoken, right? But like, we're not allowed to do that. Don't act like this. Yeah. If you wanna, do well, then this is how you behave. Yeah.
One thing I've noticed too, like I don't know, this seems universal, but I can only speak for myself. That no matter your relationship with your parents, like good, bad, or indifferent, seeking, like, wanting your biological or your parents that have raised you, their approval is like something that everyone has inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
And to turn on any of that, like, is probably like internally saying, "Oh, well, they're not gonna approve of me because I'm not gonna do this thing."
Yeah. It's that instinctual piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to please people, especially those guys. Yeah, those people. Mm-hmm.
What happens after you meet Will?
After
Tune to episode 34.
I'll never forget him. How I met him. You guys know him obviously from the podcast. He's a lovely human being. But I was in the dorm room at room to board, so I got there a day early, but we started training the same day.
Let me guess, you were in the bathroom when Will came to take a shit.
I beat the shit out of him. No. So I was in the dorm room consoling this 18-year-old girl who was struggling. She was crying, and my friend Lizzie was there, and Lizzie was not a volunteer, so technically she could not be in this room we were in. The volunteer room, there's these weird rules, only volunteers in there, but Lizzie was paying for the hostel and was going to be there basically as long as I was going to be there. So Lizzie and I are consoling Elise, and the schedule had changed for the volunteers, and that week Will's name got put on, and I was like, oh, interesting, there's another guy coming. Cool. Not thinking anything of it. And Will comes in with Carolina, who is the head lady at the room to board, and he has a blue duffel bag on, some sort of tank top, and he's just bright-eyed.
What up?
So sweet. He's like,
I'm Will.
Hi, I'm Will. And just like shakes my hand. I'm like, hi, Will. And then Carolina's like yells at Lizzie, like that she needs to get out of there.
Okay.
And then she's like, you girls and your periods, just all emotional. And Will's just like, what the hell's happening here? And anyways, that was how I met Will. And then he got settled in. And this was like maybe midday. And we're like, hey, do you want to go swimming? Like at sunset. And he's like, yeah. So we went out and we swam.
Okay, so a couple of girls.
Yeah.
By the way, a couple of girls in bikinis
Yes.
near the beach ask you, do you want to go swimming at sunset? Nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
What?
I'm gonna pass. And his friend Ian was there. So Ian and I, Lizzie and Will, we all head out to the beach to swim. Have an amazing time. Just swimming and talking and hanging out. And then he's like, okay, well, we're gonna go shower, blah, blah, blah. Meet you for dinner at the hostel restaurant. And for some reason, like in the walk back from the beach to the hostel, I have forgotten that I said yes to this. Don't know why. Forgot that I said yes to meeting these boys for dinner. And Lizzie and I decided to make pasta and have wine and blow them off. Totally blow them off.
Fucking bitches.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Yeah.
Totally. I sorry, I forgot. By the way, I'm the one who invited you, but I forgot.
I know. It was bad. And then all of a sudden I'm like I'm downstairs.
How does this stuff happen?
I don't know. And all of a sudden I see Will and I'm like, oh my goodness. Lizzie, we were supposed to eat dinner with those guys. And then we call him over and
Clueless.
Yeah, super clueless. Call him over, and at this point, we're up in this other area, and there are these two really gregarious South African boys that are staying in the hostel, and they ask us if we all, the four of us, plus these two guys, want to do juicies. And we're like, yeah, what's a juicy? You know? Let's do it. And it's not that crazy, but it's basically you get on your knees, they pour a little juice in your mouth, they pour guaro, which is the sugarcane vodka basically of Costa Rica, and then you take a drink, they pour more juice. So we're all like having drinks, we're having fun, we're
doing juicies,
doing fucking juicies, and then they're like, we're gonna go dancing, and I'm like, yeah, we're all gonna go dancing. So we all leave the hostel. These guys know where we're gonna go dancing. We go to this place and go dancing. And it's Lizzie and I, Ian, Will, and I don't even know these two guys' names. And one of them starts dancing with me in the most provocative way I have ever been danced with in my entire life. I have never, ever had this experience before. And
And I just remember looking at Will and being like, save me. Like, get me out of here. And it was all, and this guy was innocent. Like, he wasn't doing anything, like, scary.
He was having a great time.
He was having a great time. But dancing, I can't even imitate it, but it was wild. And then so, yeah. So then Will grabs me and starts swing dancing with me. He's like, do you guys want to get out of here and go skinny dipping? And, like, that sounds way better than what we're doing right now. So we walk down the beach. And this is, like, mind you, day one.
Good job, Will.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, day one.
If you're having a great time like that, it's hard to pull people away. And you're like, hey, I got a better idea. Yeah. Let's go skinny dipping.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is awesome. And so Lizzie and I and Ian and Will go skinny dipping. And it's still like very above the belt, very innocent, very just like playful. We have a great night skinny dipping. We have to get up at 6 a.m. to start our training. And so we're up till 2, 3, who knows. Go to bed for a couple hours and then start training. And spent the next 3 days talking for 8 hours every day because
you're working together.
We're working together. Yeah, and we only have like so much training. It's not that hard of a job. We'll speak Spanish, so he does a lot of the check-ins and I do the check-outs. Because I did not speak Spanish. Yeah, it's been 8 hours. Like I remember going through, we had our Facebooks up and going through like photos, telling stories, and just like literally getting to know this person so well over such a short amount of time. And I think on night 4 or 5, we went for a walk down to get drinks and with friends. And he mentioned that he had a buddy pass away in college. And he like opened up to me really quickly. And we connected about that. And then I shared about Matt and my kind of story about San Francisco and all that stuff that went down. So it was like very, very vulnerable, very quick. Mm-hmm. And it felt like I had known him forever. And it really scared me. I remember talking to Lizzie and thinking, like, dude, I don't know if I can do this right now. Like, I came down to Costa Rica. I wanted to be single. I wanted to, like, have this independent travel experience. And I think that Will is also having very similar thoughts of, like, I just got out of a relationship.
Yeah, I don't want to jump into another one.
Yeah. And he's 4 years younger than me. So he had just graduated college. He was 23. And yeah, it just became very apparent that whatever we had going on was very special. Yeah. And there was a moment where we were working together and he was so quiet. And I was just thinking, what's going on? Like something's happening here. And he just said, like, I'm nervous about getting into a relationship. I don't know what this is. Similar feelings that I was having. And he voiced his thing. And then we both just decided, like, why don't we just have fun? Let's just like there's no need to put a label on this. There's no need to do anything like that. Like, let's just enjoy. Because that's what we're doing. We're like...
Yeah, you're in fucking Costa Rica.
We were in Costa Rica. And, oh my God, it was the best time. And we were at this hostel that was just, like, bringing in amazing people every single day. We were doing family dinners with them. We were doing bonfires. We were connecting with, like, 15, 20 people every day that were just, like, incredible human beings. Specifically this guy named Noel, who was from Chile. And he moved to Costa Rica, and something happened in his move where he didn't have his yellow fever vaccine, couldn't get his vaccine card, didn't have access to a lot of money. So basically was like staying at really cheap spots and selling ceviche on the street. He bought a little cart thing to refrigerate it, selling ceviche with a massive rainbow afro, like mullet. And was just trying to make it work. And this guy was amazing. And then he made enough money to get an apartment, and now he was a bartender at Room to Board. And he just became our, like, if I could bottle up Noel and keep him in my pocket for all of eternity.
It's like a special person.
He's insanely special. Yeah. His grandmother, when he left Chile, gave him 2 extra large spoon and fork and said, like, no matter where you are, if you have enough, you share.
Okay.
And so this guy, though, he's got no money to his name and does that, lives that way. Like, he would give you anything. He would, yeah. And there's just so many beautiful moments with him where he would have us over to his house and he would cook for us. And he's also like 5'2" and just like a little spider monkey. He's just like so spazzy, so playful, so fun. And I remember when we were leaving Costa Rica, Noel was crying and we all were crying. But he looked at Will and just said, like, you saw me. Like, you chose to speak my, like there's all the different types of Spanish or like intonations and dialects. That's the word I'm looking for. Dialects. And Will, like, intentionally, whoever he was speaking with, would try to learn their dialect. And just, I don't know, I think Noel just really felt, like, cared for by Will. Yeah, I'll never forget that guy. Yeah, he's just...
Is he still there?
He's still there. Yeah, we saw him. So we went back to Costa Rica a couple years ago. He's still there. And he said, a phrase that he said was, mi vida, mi sol, mi todo este mundo. My life, my son, my everything. He would always say that to us. And then he would also say something about, how do you say balls in Spanish?
Cojones.
Cojones. I'll have to have Will tell you, but he was saying this other, like, really fast thing about, I don't know what it was, but I'll have to have Will say it to you. He was always just silly. And he loved Jackson Browne, or that kind of like really jazzy, bluesy singer. He'd always play that music.
James Brown.
James Brown.
Yeah.
Yes, James Brown. Exactly.
Yeah.
Love James Brown.
I love James Brown.
Hey, I got a problem with James Brown.
Yeah. No, I love it too. Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, just special times. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so then after Costa Rica?
After Costa Rica, I went back home to Redding and started working at a juice bar that my buddy opened called Roots, and had a fabulous time there. It was just like inundated with these like positive, upbeat people, and was doing hikes and doing all these like events with women. And I was coaching a women's soccer team. And then Will went sailing. And so we were on two different parts of the coast. And I remember inviting him to my brother's wedding. So he came out to my brother's wedding and met my whole family. And then we both decided, like, hey, like, this is awesome. Like, whatever we have is working. But after Costa Rica, we like took some time. Took some time to try to figure it out. But then we quickly realized, like, okay, this is special. We want to try to make this work. He came out to my brother's wedding. I went out to the East Coast to visit his family at camp. And then we decided that after our respective falls, we were going to meet back up and fly into New Hampshire, build out a Subaru Outback with a bed and platform in the back, and then drive west and drive to Telluride and start working in Telluride. And so, yeah, went out to the East Coast, hopped in the car, drove all the way to Telluride, spent a couple months working in Telluride as lifties, working at Hi Pie Pizza. So we would get off the mountain, go work at the pizza shop till 10, and then repeat.
So you literally, you worked constantly.
Yeah, worked a ton. But we also had days off, like, 2-3 days off here and there. So we're doing a lot of skiing, a lot of hanging out with our friends in town. But yeah, working, saving, and we knew that we were going to be moving or going to Idaho for the summer to be raft guides, or to try out. We didn't know if we could.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we left Telluride and then drove out to California, spent some time in California, and then headed to Stanley, Idaho. And I had never guided or really done anything like this ever, but loved it. And Will had done a lot of like kayaking and spent a lot of time on the waters in the Northeast. So he was very comfortable with that. And we showed up at Mackie and were put on a boat a couple days later to do the day stretch of the salmon. And we're basically taught how to row, and came off the river, and my hands were massive blisters, just like blisters all in the palm, everywhere. So wrecked. But then I guess they liked our personalities enough, because we definitely were good boaters at the time. And we're hired on for the summer and did 2 trips down the main and the middle, or 1 trip down the middle of the salmon. Have you guys ever done the main and the middle?
No.
one down the middle, and then 2 down the main for our training trips. And then basically we're like, now you can row people down rapids, and good luck. And so we each had 18-foot boats, fully geared.
18-foot?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 18-foot. Yeah, so like each of us are on our own boat. And
those are long.
Yeah, they were huge. They were heavy and huge.
I had no idea they were that long. I thought maybe like a 14-footer, 15-footer.
Yeah, these guys were tanks.
Wow.
Yeah, the Mackie had a 22-foot boat specifically made for a gear too. And we also had J rigs, which a J rig is like this huge raft that has old school pontoons that they would use to make bridges across water, like in the military. Those big, they kind of like come up on the end.
Okay.
So J rig has 2 of those pontoons, a platform in the middle, and then it's you row it with it's a big blade in the back, and I can't remember what it's called. Dang it! But they're blades that go on the front and the back of the boat, and you row them like this. So rather than having your blades out on the side, they're front and back. I cannot remember the name of it right now, but it'll come back to me. So it's very unique. I like would only practice on that, but I would never row it. But that was where all the guests, because this was like a very bougie river trip, so all the guests would have their gear on that boat, and then we would go down the river and we would row them through the rapid. We had like day drinks and food and snacks on our boat and stuff like that. And so we did the whole summer. It was amazing. It was so much fun. And we slept one night every week back in Stanley in our car. And the rest of the summer was spent out sleeping under the stars on the river and learning how to row big boats.
That's awesome.
Falling in love with whitewater and like loving every minute of it, and like never. And then like my world, I just feel like it kept opening up. Like, oh my gosh, this exists. We can do this. I can do this. This is amazing. I felt so capable after the summer. Felt so freaking strong. And it was exciting. It was super fun. We did that until the end of August. And then we took it to Bangkok and flew to Southeast Asia and spent 4 or 5 months there, playing and traveling and getting up to so many fun things. We also went to the Philippines and did our rescue diver for scuba. So we thought we were going to do our guide masters out there, but it just didn't work out that way. Just going to the we flew here together and just did like a food tour. Really, it was amazing.
It sounds like it's such a great place to do a food tour.
Oh my gosh! I mean, like
I've just heard amazing things.
Yes, such good food.
Yeah,
and then we were eating like street food. We were doing like oh my god, so good. So sick.
My buddy Brock, when he met him, I don't remember which podcast that was, but Brock says that when he was in Thailand, it was the best food in the whole world.
I agree.
And it was like $1.
Yeah, it's freaking cheap.
Yeah,
and it's so fresh and so tasty. Yeah, oh my gosh, amazing.
Okay, so there for 5 months.
Yeah, there for 5 months. We Thailand, Vietnam, Philippines, and then Indonesia. And that's where we actually got like engaged, was in Bali. And then we flew home. My grandfather passed away when we were over there, so I felt like a need to come back and just touch base. And we were out of money. We probably had, I'm not kidding, $100 in our joint accounts. Like we were playing, we were experiencing.
You went all the way.
Yeah, we went full on. And so, rewinding, during the summer on the river, we met this guy who had a huge boat or I had a friend who had a boat in the Bahamas. And originally we were under the impression that it was a sailboat. And he was like, oh yeah, he always has, staff working on the boat. You guys should reach out to him at some point. And so we reached out when we were in Thailand just to check in and see. And Mari, his personal assistant, was like, oh yeah, we need a deckhand and a stewardess on the boat, but you guys need to finish your SCCW, which is like Safety of Life at Sea. And so we put that on our credit card, and because we knew we were going to get paid really well. We were basically yachties working on this mega yacht in the Bahamas.
Yachties,
yeah, ridiculous. I think Will told you about the jet ski experience.
Yeah.
And so we went down to Florida, got the RCCW, and then flew to the Bahamas. And we were there for 3-ish months before we got married. And we had like a financial goal. We wanted to make it.
You guys got married in the Bahamas?
We got married back in New Hampshire.
Okay.
But we were in the Bahamas, and we had a financial goal. Like once we hit it there, we were gonna like. Well, we actually didn't know if we were gonna like leave, but we were gonna like go home and get married and then come back. And we eventually just decided to leave. And Will got into grad school as well. So there's like a lot happening and making this decision of why we moved back to the States and stuff. But yeah, we were in the Bahamas there on Doug Manchester's boat. He'd like to be called Papa Doug.
Wait, Doug Manchester, like
the San Diego real estate tycoon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's I didn't know it was Doug.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was Doug Manchester's.
Yeah.
But, okay, wow, interesting.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know Doug, but I know of Doug because of the company I used to work for. We used to do work for him.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah. He like owns
a lot. Yeah.
Doug.
Okay. Okay. So wow, interesting. Small world.
Yeah. So he had a $40 million yacht staged in Lyford Key by his massive mansion. So he would never sleep on his boat when he was there, but he would eat his meals on the boat. So he would sleep in his mansion, come in the morning for breakfast, come in for lunch, dinner, whatever it was. And then we took the boat out, obviously, for like day trips and whatnot. But yeah, spent a lot of time with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Really got to know.
Papa Doug.
Yeah. Yeah, and then told me.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we had a couple different charters, which was interesting. We had a 17-day charter with the owners of Boston Market and Quiznos. And it was just them. It was a boys' trip. It was just the owners and their buddies from college. And they were so chill. All they wanted to do was drink White Russians, go fishing all day, come back, have their dinner served in the movie lounge, and watch movies, and then eat ice cream. It was...
How old were these guys?
Like it's 50s, 60s.
Okay.
They were just pounding White Russians. And they had us get 100... So I was a provisioner, so I would go shopping at the grocery store for the food. And they had us get 100 pints, I'm not kidding, not exaggerating, of like Ben & Jerry's, Haagen-Dazs ice cream things. And we had to get a different freezer, put in our engine room to store all this ice cream for a 17-day charter. Because that's how much ice cream they were eating. It was bonkers.
Got it.
Yeah. Big dairy hounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
17 days. Where'd you guys go?
That's also the interesting thing. So as a stewardess, like in my role, I was...
So like not a stewardess. A stewardess.
Stewardess? Is that what I say?
I don't know if it's different. Like a steward. That's what Will said too. Like a stewardess.
Yeah, I think stewardess.
So like a stewardess is like a plane, and a stewardess is like on a boat.
I guess it seems like it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I say stewardess.
Okay.
I don't know why. But we went all over the place. We went to Turks and Caicos. And the weird part is my shift started at 11 a.m. and ended at 3 a.m. So I was always on the late shift.
Yeah, okay.
And I was always doing turn downs with the beds, the cabins, and then I was always on food service and then laundry at night. So on those charters, it's honestly like I don't even remember where we were.
Yeah.
Because I was never outside, hardly, and never was in the ocean, never went out exploring. Hated it. I hated it. I thought that I had to like almost leave during that 7-day charter. Day 2, I was like, this is awful. This is so bad. And Will's having time of his life, having so much fun. Yeah.
He's riding jet skis around.
Oh my god, yes.
It's probably payback for blowing him off for dinner.
And that's, yeah. He's getting me back.
Full circle.
Oh, full circle. Yeah, I literally calculated like how many toilets I cleaned that trip. It's like over 200. And they're clean. They're so clean because you're cleaning them like 3 times a day. But that one time when I was cleaning like the 15th toilet of the day, and I just look out of the little porthole and I see Will on a jet ski I literally started crying. I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? This is my life. And I swam one time during those 17 days. Will was in the water multiple times a day. The boys on the deck crew got to like make sure the jet skis worked.
They just walk around with their shirts off.
Yeah.
Right? And watch the boat for like the 100th
Oh my gosh, watch the boat so much. All the little spills all over the teak floor. They have this like white spray. It's just like, oh my gosh, so much detailed work. Will went lobster diving and brought back fresh lobster for the chef to cook up. He got to go scuba diving. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I wish I had his job. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. If I ever do that again, I would definitely be a deckhand.
Got it.
Yeah. Don't think I will, but if I ever did.
Nice.
That was the way to go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Bahamas, then we got married in New Hampshire. Had an epic wedding weekend. Like 3 days of just all of our friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
So much fun. And then came here. Yeah. Sight unseen. None of us had actually ever been to Bozeman.
Okay, got it. So none of your travels, you've never been to Bozeman before that. But Will went to school here.
Will went to school here.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He
grad school.
Got grad school, yep. Studied geology.
Mm-hmm.
Did 2 years of that. I was supposed to do a really neat trip to China, Nepal, but COVID happened and all the permits got pulled and it just got complicated. But yeah, 2 years of that. And then, yeah, kind of just been figuring it out for the last couple. And it just feels like the last couple of months, 6 months, it's like all starting to like feel really good. Like our roots are here and we feel more like stable. Yeah, there's a lot of things feel really good right now. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So nice.
Good.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
For the record, stewardess is the same for an aircraft or a boat.
Okay.
But
it's the same.
You saved.
I only see one. I only see one. I'd imagine you could pronounce it however you prefer, but
Stewardess.
I think I'll get you to the same place.
I think so. Yeah. Thanks for fact checking us.
But you want to be a deckhand.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yes, I would rather be a deckhand. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How are we doing?
I don't know. How long have we gone?
Doing great. Got about a couple hours in.
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Okay, cool.
What was your most memorable thing from the wedding weekend?
Oh, the wedding weekend? Okay, so we got
married.
Or the
wedding. I'm just like assuming it was
it was like a week-long event. My most memorable thing, I think so we got married at Will's family's camp. So we had like full access to everything, which was freaking awesome. And we could have everyone stay in the cabins and the camp chef cooked for us. So it was super low key. We could shift anything we wanted at any point. But I think the most memorable, we had our friend Owen DJ for us, and he had just graduated from college. He was 21. He was just like, knew all the good music. And he DJ'd from like 8 p.m. till 1 or 2 in the morning.
Hell yeah.
Like, just crushed the DJ set. And at multiple times, his dad...
Out in the middle of the woods.
Yeah. And we could just be up all night long.
There was like nobody else to mind.
Oh, there's no one. And I had it under I had like in my head, I would stay up until like sunrise, but I could not. I was so tired. But at camp, there's also this tradition where one of the counselors during summer wears this big barrel. So it's like a big wine barrel. It's huge, like a classic barrel. And it has these little straps that go on top, and they wear it naked. So they just wear it around camp naked. I did not wear it naked, but Abby Matheson grabbed me and she was like, "You need to put the barrel on." And I was like, "You know where the barrel is?" And I didn't have, with my wedding dress, I didn't have bra or underwear on because it just didn't work. So I borrowed my best friend's undies and I borrowed my other friend's bra.
No way.
Yeah, and I fucking put them on and we were in the back office and I wear the barrel for like a song or two.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, all the camp boys were like, "I think you're the first girl to ever put the barrel on." And it was just this like legendary moment of feeling like I married into the coolest family ever. And my mom was so worried. She was like, "Breah, what are you doing?" I'm like, "It's gonna be okay. I'm just gonna put the barrel on for just a little bit."
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was pretty memorable. We also had a really epic kickball game and keg stands on second base with a massive keg, and my uncles were loving it. And just like so much fun, just play like all these adults just like full on, and no one had kids yet, which was really interesting. There were no kids at our wedding. That was memorable because it was just like everyone had let loose.
Yeah.
Was the camp in session then, or what was the?
It was before. So
Okay.
Will and I got back from Bahamas, and we basically like
cleaned
and organized the whole camp. Like cleaned all the cabins, did all the leaves from the fall that hadn't been picked up in the spring, opened the kitchen, just like got it ready basically. And then camp started like 2 weeks later. And Will and I worked at camp that summer.
Oh, nice.
Which was great, yeah.
You reminded me when you said the DJ went till 2 a.m. So a gentleman, a client of mine, I'm mixing up which one he was, but he was telling me his daughter was getting married. This was a couple of years ago, but the coming summer.
Okay, yeah.
It's not like he was planning a wedding, essentially. Like he had nothing better to do. But he said he got like there's gonna be like almost 20 people in the band.
Oh my gosh.
And his plan is that the band was never gonna stop playing. So when anyone needed a break, there was enough people in the band.
You could just rotate.
Because he was convinced that the party would stop as soon as the music stopped. If you stop the music, then everybody sits down and nobody gets back up.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, so this will go as long as humanly possible.
Do you know how it went?
I'm trying to remember which client he is, but if I see him again, I'm going to ask him.
You should definitely ask.
Yeah, because the guy I just picked up the other day, which I was thinking might have been him, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Might be from the same neighborhood.
Wow. 20 plus band.
Yeah.
That's bonkers. Sounds like a blast though.
Was it tricky to get your family out there from the West Coast to the East Coast?
Sort of, yeah. Basically all my immediate family made it, which is incredible, except for my grandpa Vern and his wife. Just too much of a travel. But my like 87-year-old grandma, Grandma Ginny, she made it. She made it out with her sister. And that was the last time I saw her. She passed away about a month after my wedding.
Oh,
2 months after my wedding. So she made it out there from a wedding and
That's cool. She got to experience that.
Yeah, she did. And I have a lot of good memories of her there. And she got to see all of her grandkids because all my cousins came out. And her sister was there. And so that was super special. Yeah, the last time I saw her, the morning after our wedding, and said goodbye. But she was ready to rock and roll. I think she was holding on till the end. Her husband had passed away about 1.5 years before, and she was ready to, be on to the next thing. It's a beautiful time.
Did you guys go on a honeymoon? It seems like you guys just travel the world all the time anyway. So.
Yeah, we did not go on a honeymoon. We just stuck around camp and actually hung out with our friend Jack for like 3 days and watched the last season, or the second to last season of Game of Thrones. Yeah, we hadn't watched that, and then we just were like dead tired.
Yeah,
we had like been crushing work and then social for like 1.5 weeks, and just were like so tapped out. So it was me, Will, and Jack, and we put these bunk beds together and made a little like movie thing down in the basement of Treetops, which is the camp cabin, and got hung out with Jack. Wonderful. Yeah. Jack was so when I first met Jack, he's like Will's sort of like pseudo cousin. We were playing this game. Did you guys watch Charlie or Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
I never watched it,
It's
but
been a long time ago. I never really watched it either. But there's this game called Charlie McDennis, and it's just this game where there's like 3 rounds, and it's just absurd. So I met Jack playing this game, and one of the cards was Marry, Fuck, Kill, and you have to pick who you're going to do that with. And so I chose to marry Jack, fuck Will, and then kill this guy Drew. And so we had this long bit going about how I was going to marry Jack before I married Will because I told him. So on the eve of our wedding, or 2 nights before our wedding, I like proposed to Jack on the steps of Thai, which is a building in camp with a ring pop. And then we had a private ceremony in the place called the Middle Office with all of our friends. And so it was it like suited us all to be together as a honeymoon, me, Jack, and Will.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Yeah. And then, moved out here after all that. Been here since. Just did.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What are you mostly doing here now, or what have you been doing?
I'm a massage therapist. So, I went back to school 2 years ago to get that licensure, and I've been practicing here in town for the last 2 years.
Nice.
Yeah, whether out at Sage Lodge or my own space.
Oh, cool.
And this fall, I went full time to my own location in downtown Bozeman.
Sweet.
Yeah, which is great. So
Ulu massage.
Yeah, Ulu Wellness.
Ulu Wellness.
Yeah. So Will and I got engaged in Bali. Lulu walked to his beach in Indonesia, and my dog's name is Ulu, and it also just looks like it's a mnemonic, so it's the same forward and back, which I like the way it looks.
Mm-hmm.
My logo. Yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
Nice.
Massage therapy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just good.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys.
Let's call it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. It was awesome.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.